What's going on, guys? Today, the Draft Doctor's back with another video for you. Today, I'm here with my friend Dusty, who's looking to improve as a draft player. Go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Hey, what's up, guys?
So, what would you say your experience level inside of draft is overall?
Oh, probably minimal. Not, I haven't done it much.
Pretty new to draft, then, overall. Have you
Yeah,
done any Ikoria drafts at all?
a couple.
Okay. All right, sounds good. So, why don't you go ahead and hop into quick draft then, and then we'll talk a lot about your draft fundamentals as we're going through. The reason we're doing bot draft, guys, is so that way we can kind of break down a little bit more information on each card than what would be able to be done inside of a player draft where you have a timer on you. So I'm ready to start whenever you are.
All right, let's go.
All right. So what comes to your eyes right away when you see this pack?
Mm. uh, I know that that guy messes me up a lot. I know that this land is super important because of the three different types of
Yeah,
mana
I
that
tend
it
to
can
like
make.
fixing when you get a chance to. So there's some things when it comes to draft that are important to think about. So the analogy that most people use is bread for your draft fundamentals, right? When you're just looking at baseline things. So you have bombs, which is something that when it comes into play, it has the effect that usually just says, unless my opponent has a way to interact immediately, they're going to lose, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times you'll find those in the rare slot, sometimes in the uncommon slot, but very few times will you find it in the common slot. Not that it never happens, but it typically is very rare. Um, so looking at this pack right now, I don't see anything that I would consider to be a bomb. So then the next thing you're looking at is removal. So for instance, you have Heartless Act in the pack, which is an uncommon spell. It's very good removal. It can kill basically any creature, except in this format, which does have a few instances where like creatures will have counters on them, so you can't necessarily destroy them. And then otherwise, you're just looking for like efficient statted stuff or evasion. So I think the three best creatures that you see in the pack right now is going to be the two mentors. So Duskfang Mentor is really powerful. Keen Sight Mentor is also really powerful, especially in the green-white deck, but it's pretty good just overall on its own. And then obviously Heartless Act itself is a good card, and then you've got Dreamtail Heron in the pack, which is good for the Mutate deck. So since we're
Mm-hmm.
looking at our first pick, and this pack is pretty powerful, I don't really hate kind of flexing between what you feel comfortable on. A lot of times I would lean towards taking the land here just because it keeps me the most open and it's good for the cycling deck. But I also think that you could make a really good case for taking Heartless Act here. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're looking at just straight draft fundamentals, I think it's probably best to take Heartless Act.
Mm-hmm. Let's just do that then.
Yeah. So then now inside of this pack, we have a couple things that are. I would say this pack is pretty decent. What comes to your eyes right away?
Um, well, I think because I took Heartless Act, the stuff that jumps out at me is um, the other swamp cards, pretty
Okay.
much.
So yeah,
Like
so the other
the
the other the other black cards are the first things you look at. So it's good. It's always good to
yeah,
look at. Does this match my first couple picks worth of color? But when we typically want to start drafting, the first thing you want to worry about is making sure that for I'd say roughly the first 5 picks, you're just picking the most powerful card out of the pack, because we don't know for a fact whether we're going to play this Heartless Act or not.
right.
When I look at powerful cards, and like, what would you say is the most powerful card in the pack to you?
Um,
Like, just from a thought process level.
I think That's tough. Maybe.
There's not really
Uh,
a
I,
wrong answer here.
I kind of think this one.
The Nightbonder. So Nightbonder in this format, I think, is probably closer to like just more of a grizzly bear. I think you could make the argument that Howlbonder is really powerful in this pack. The red white or the red black card that's up there. The one that gives menace creatures like, I guess, super menace.
Yeah, but I did think of that.
But the thing that really catches my eye here is just the Flourishing Fox. It's a premium uncommon in the set, and when you are in the cycling deck, it kind of just goes off. Like it's one of the main threats you want to be on in that type of deck. I think if I was gonna just take something out of this pack, not knowing 100% where we're going with the draft yet, because we're just on pack 1, pick 2. I would probably just take the Fox. You could also make an argument for Capture Sphere because it is removal. But yeah, I would probably just pick up Fox here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's always good to see like what everybody's mentality is when you're going into something, so that way we can know, if you're having a problem in draft, you want to know where your problems are coming from. You know what I mean?
Right.
Do you know anything about the archetypes in the format?
What do you mean?
Like for instance, like red white cycling, black white humans.
Oh, not really. No.
Okay.
I kind of understand the cycling part. It's just a matter of
Yeah.
like,
So
when
the
cards
cycling.
when another card cycles.
Yeah, the
it does
cycling
something.
decks typically tend to be either red white or blue red or blue white. So pulling this rare into question, it's probably completely unplayable and limited. It's just really, really niche, so it's not something that we're really looking into.
Okay.
But yeah, looking at cards in this pack for power level, it's probably going to be Boneyard Lurker. The card's really good. Just produces a lot of value throughout the game. It's a big creature. It's actually just a black card. If you're playing it in you can play it in like a black-blue deck, for instance, for just its mutate cost, or even if we pick up an Evolving Wilds later, we can splash it for casting cost as well. So I would pick up Boneyard Lurker out of this pack. Skull Prophet's a decent card, but I don't think the mana ramp matters as much. And it's very rare that you're really like milling yourself in this format.
Right.
All right, we've got an interesting pack here. This pack is pretty weak overall. What do you want to take out of this pack? Like just initial thoughts.
There's not really a whole lot that kind of catches my eye.
Yeah, you're kind of starting to get into like the back half of the pack, and it looks like the uncommons in this pack are pretty weak.
Yeah, I know. I know the Scorpion is decent enough as a 1 cost, and the 2 damage, 2 life you get, pretty neat.
Yeah, I actually don't hate the Scorpion. From like just a gameplay perspective, but I like it more, I think, in the black red deck if I'm trying for it. I would probably just take the Fertilid here. It's a good creature to mutate onto, and it kind of helps ramp you out into the bigger section of the game. And like you're not losing anything from like the white cards, for instance, like the Sabertooth you don't really want to be playing anyways. Reconnaissance Mission is a blue card that you don't really want to be playing, and honestly in the cycling deck it is basically just reads 2 mana cycle. Like the Pterodon is a pretty decent card, but it's not really. I just don't think it's where you want to be right now. So I would just pick up the Fertilid and move on to the next pack, basically. Okay. I would say this pack's nothing special. And so now we got to start looking at like signals to see, what's open, where are we at, who's drafting next to, like when someone's drafting next to you, what color are they in, right? Because now we're starting to look at what colors could somebody else possibly be in, and where could that lead us to making sure that we're in the right colors to get with the strongest deck possible. So the 2 strongest cards in this pack, in my opinion, are Deadweight and Weaponize the Monsters, right? Weaponize the Monsters is really good in the black-red deck when you want to be sacrificing either opponent stuff, or if you just have like a lot of random trash creatures that you're okay with sacrificing, similar to like the Scorpion, for instance, stuff like that. Stuff that's just kind of like sitting around to burn your opponent out.
Mm-hmm.
But because we're not in red yet, I would just take Deadweight and kind of move on past this pack as well. Lord Drakus is another one that you could take into consideration, but I don't think we're quite at that level yet.
Which one?
The uncommon, the blue-red one, the one that has
Oh.
mutate and it brings back a spell.
Oh, that guy. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, there's a couple things that I see in this pack that I think are good signals. Do you have any idea what you're seeing that are like you would consider to be a good signal?
Well, based on some of this other stuff we took in like the counters and stuff like that, I don't think that would be a bad choice.
Okay. So that's if we're
Um,
doing a mutate deck.
Right.
Because we only have one Boneyard Lurker, I'm not sure if I want to take the egg yet. But I see where you're coming from with that for sure.
Mm. I think I've seen that one out a lot.
Yeah.
I think that
So
one's pretty
Frostlynx
decent.
is probably the most powerful creature in the pack. Just because it's good. It's good tempo. But with how much removal we're starting to like, we've already got 2 removal spells in our first 5 picks. I feel pretty confident in our, in our ability to play like kind of a mid-range game. So I don't think we're gonna be a tempo deck, and I kind of would rather stay on color for now. What I'm seeing.
Okay.
So one thing that I see here is Lead the Stampede still in the pack. So pick
Yep.
6, you have a Lead the Stampede in the pack, which is a really good signal because Lead the Stampede is a very good card. The only thing is that it requires you to build your deck in a specific way. So you want to be playing less Deadweight and Heartless Act effects and more removal spells on creatures because it only hits creatures. The other thing that I see is we did see a Weaponize come through, and so that means that the person next to us is probably not in red because it was 5th pick or whatever, and the card's really good. So you have Night Squad Commando as well, which is just 2 pieces of interaction in order to, like, it's just 2 pieces of material when you want to be sacrificing stuff. So for that reason, like, I would pick up Night Squad Commando here. I think the card's really good in specifically the Rakdos deck, and we could start to lean towards that way and kind of just hedge our bets.
Okay.
Because that deck really just cares about how many creatures you have. It doesn't matter what creatures they are. And either way, you might even just play it.
Mhm.
Kind of a bad pack here. So I would probably just pick up the Ominous Seas here and then just move on. Like, you might end up switching into cycling because we're still in the first pack. It's unlikely that we'll play it, but we're not going to play any of the other cards that are in this pack either. Like, maybe Adventurous Impulse.
Okay.
And you'll definitely have packs like this where you're like, sure, you could have made a decision, but it's like basically a non-decision. Similar affecting here, I would probably just take Snare Tactician just in case you decide to go into the cycling deck because you're not going to play Unlikely Aid. The card's just very bad, and I don't think the Giraffe Rid is good enough.
Mhm.
And this card's like a good piece of the cycling deck. I think it's pretty important. Alright, so let's see. So we have Night Squad Commando and Snare Tactician right now with 2 removal spells and the Fox. So this is kind of a decision that's actually real. So we can choose between Parameter Sergeant and we can choose between Forbidden Friendship. So we don't have any red cards yet, and we're not sure if we're going to be red, but Friendship is pretty good inside of the Rakdos Sack deck. But Sergeant is good inside of the Black-White Humans list. You can't really play Pangolian's, like, not really a card. And the Goriak, I think we're going to start moving away from green because this doesn't seem like green's super open.
Mhm.
You can kind of feel that, like, you're only seeing, like, maybe 1 green card, maybe 2 green cards at best.
Yeah,
So
I've been getting that.
I would
I've been seeing.
say probably just pick up the Parameter Sergeant here and assume that we might be starting to lean towards humans here.
Okay. By the way, it's perimeter.
All right, so Nightbonder wheeled out of the pack. So that's just a human that you could pick up. I'd probably just pick that up for now. You're not really going to play Spontaneous Flight. It's not super mana efficient for you.
I got which one? This one?
Yeah, the Nightbonder. It's just a human.
Okay.
And then same thing, I'd probably just go with like a Blitz Leech, for instance. I don't think you're going to play any card in this pack, so you can just grab whatever you want. I guess like Blazing Volley and put it in the sideboard. Just drag it down to the sideboard slot. And then you can probably drag down the Fertilid and the Ominous Seas as well. So just that way we can keep our stuff kind of cleared up so we can see what's going on. I would take the Unlikely Aid, but it's super unlikely that you play that card. I think there are formats that card's good, but this is, so far from what I've seen, this is not a format where it's really good.
What exactly makes it bad?
So it's a combat trick, but this doesn't really feel as much like a combat trick style format. Like Fully Grown, for instance, is probably one of the few that you can really play. The +2/+3 and trample one. But I've been just unimpressed with Unlikely Aid. I just feel like I don't need it most of the time. And the Indestructible a lot of times doesn't matter because it's either going on, like the black aggro decks are playing like 1/1s or 2/2s. Where they're just like stuff that you don't mind trading off anyways.
Okay.
So it's just not, it's not really premium in this deck, or in this format. There's last pick, Lead the Stampede. So that's kind of relevant to keep in mind. We could always like shift back to green if for some reason green seems to be open, but that's a really late Lead the Stampede. And then just throw that mountain in your sideboard. All right, so which one is this? Is this this is the Phoenix, right? Okay, so this card's like nutso insane, by the way. It's just really hard to deal with. Let's see what else is in the pack. So you've got Dire Tactics, which is like premium removal in the humans deck too. So this is like a really defining pick in the draft here. So if you take Dire Tactics, you're basically locking yourself into committing to saying that you're gonna play humans, because
if not, you're gonna keep losing health and die.
Well, I'm saying you're locking yourself in, not really, just the fact that like you're locking yourself into black white, right?
Right.
Whereas I would say if you pick the red card, you're kind of locking yourself into red because that's like a bomb that you want to play. So this is a really tough pick because you have a premium, like I'd say that one of the big payoffs to play humans, right, is Dire Tactics. Like it's just a super good card versus the Phoenix, which is also just an incredible card itself. I would consider it to be a bomb. So it's tough because typically you take bombs over removal, but the removal's in the colors that we're currently leaning towards right now. For that reason, I would probably take Dire Tactics and then just kind of keep in mind that there's a Bushmeat Poacher in the pack. But yeah, this is definitely a debatable pick for sure. Because we're not too deep that we couldn't shift into red, but this would be committing to humans.
Okay.
Alright, well that's a good reward because you just got another one. Whew, this is not a good pack for us. Actually, I don't think this is a good pack for really anybody. This is a pretty bad pack overall. So there's like the best card in the pack is Mystic Subdual, but obviously we're not blue, so we're not playing it. There is one reason that I'm considering this card, which is so we have a main Serval in the pack, and it's a 1/4 for 2. So typically it can attack on most turns that it comes out, like most turns after it comes out anyways. just as a 2-drop because it has 4 toughness and most things can't block it without, they can't block and kill it, right? It might not get through, but they can't block and kill it. And since we have a Night Squad commando, it might be worth it to play one.
Okay.
So I would just pick that up. And also it fills our 2 slot a little bit better. Dang, there's some good cards in this pack. So Hemophage is really good if you have non-humans, but we have a lot of humans right now. You want to scroll over your creatures real quick and see how many non-humans we have. So I see the Fox and the Serval, but is there any other ones that are, what, Boneyard Lurker? No, you just slide your mouse down them. So Leech is probably too high up on the curve. We might be able to play Boneyard Lurker. And it looks like the rest of the stuff is humans besides the Serval and the Fox. And we're kind of in the same situation with the Duskfang Mentor, where it's asking us to play not humans. The Duskfang might be good enough. Checkpoint Officer's not bad either, so I'd probably take the Duskfang Mentor here. It's just an because it's an uncommon, it's harder to find one of them, and I think it's a good card overall.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you just kind of slam the commando here. Like this is kind of, those are the things that we're looking for. So there's a couple of cards that we're looking for at uncommon that are pretty premium right now, which is Bastion of Remembrance and Sanctuary Lockdown. I would pick up the Snare Tactician here. Now we're starting to solidify ourselves into humans, and we're going to start looking away from some of the mutate creatures because we're really starting to go into humans. I would pick up the Serval again because you have a second Night Squad commando, and I don't think we're at a point where we really want to consider Bushmeat Poacher. Like, we could play Bushmeat Poacher, but I think it's better in Black-Red.
Okay.
I think you can take Scorpion here. It's okay to play a couple aggressive 1-drops in this style of deck. Just take the Neutralize and put it in your sideboard. You might need a cycling card. Same thing. I would take the Crystal and just put it in your sideboard. And you can just grab it and drag it directly to sideboard.
Oh, okay.
Drag the Crystal into your sideboard again. Just start grabbing uncommons at this point until we have something that we're going to pick. Yeah, so just grab the first card and throw it in the sideboard. Alright, put the Ominous Seas in your sideboard. This pack kind of dried up. That's a little concerning. Alright, so last pack, we're kind of committed to what we're doing. And this is not great pack for us. So, Zenith Flare's in the pack, which means that, like, if we were the cycling deck, that'd be what we'd be picking. Same with Mythos. It's a really powerful red card. But we're not really set up to capitalize on any of the really powerful rares or uncommons in this pack, which being Trumpeting Gnar is really, really good in the blue-green deck, or really, honestly, any green deck. Zenith Flare is obviously the big payoff for the cycling deck, and Mythos is just a really good removal spell. So, since we're not set up to play any of these colors, I think we just take the Bushmeat Poacher and move on past the pack, which kind of sucks. It sucks that we didn't really get a chance to utilize any of the cards inside of this pack. But now we're getting a little bit more paid off. So Valiant Rescuer is really good. It's a 3/1 that's a human that makes humans that also has cycling, and it gives you something to do with cycling cards when you need cycling payoffs. So I really do like Valiant Rescuer in this format. I think it's really, really good. It fits in both the red-white deck and also the red-white cycling deck and also the black-white humans deck. And then removal spell wise, I think you just take Pacifism. Mutual Destruction's okay, but I mean you just kind of want to take Pacifism over Mutual Destruction because it requires less. Like, you don't have to have a creature.
Okay.
And then that's probably the last removal spell we're gonna want in the deck.
Okay.
All right, so let's Can you click the upper right corner to switch your view so that way I can see the deck's curve? So sometimes I'll do this when I want to see like what kind of curve I'm looking at and where I think I need to like clean up my curve at, because that's pretty important to recognize. So first off, let's take the Lead the Stampede out and just drag it over to the sideboard. So I would probably drag the Boneyard Lurker over to it. It's pretty unlikely that you're going to play that card, but we might. Just keep that in mind. So we have Flourishing Fox, which is mostly a cycling card, but that's okay because we have 2 Snare Tacticians, and we also have the Rescuer. So it's okay to play cycling cards that we likely are only going to cycle. So we have the, like, stuff to do on 1 doesn't really matter too much, but we have, like, a removal spell and, like, a guy on 1. But Call of the Death Dweller is less good because of the fact that we're not playing, like, a bunch of 1-drops or, like, Whisper Squads, stuff like that.
Okay.
But for our 2-drops, we have, let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 creatures on 2, and then 5 removal spells on 2. So we want to try to pick up a couple more 2-drops, especially if we're going to take the Night Squad. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards on 3, which isn't too bad. And then we've got, obviously, the 2 cards on the top end. The Charge, we'd really like probably 1 copy in our deck, but I think you probably want Night Squad Commando over it for now, just because you need more creatures. The only problem with this deck is that we're missing the Lords to really help push us through the game. But yeah, I would take Night Squad here.
Okay.
If you have any questions, you can stop me real quick, too. Because I kind of did, like, a pretty large breakdown right there.
No, I think I'm pretty good so far.
So, you can switch the view back now, too. I would probably just take Reconnaissance Mission. Maybe we need another cycling card, but it's unlikely. I just take it and put it in the sideboard for now. Sergeant's an okay pickup here. That's kind of like our pseudo Lord now because we don't have the Anthem effects.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean Lords?
So, okay, well, we just got a huge payoff. So this is exactly what I was talking about. So if you go up to Sanctuary Lockdown real quick and just hover over it. When I say Lord, this is what I mean by this style effect, where it says, typically in Magic, Lord effects are X tribe, so humans in this instance, get +1/+1. So they'll either give +1/+0, +0/+1, or +1/+1, or I mean, sometimes they're even bigger than that. But this comes from there's 2 cards in Magic, so people can call them Anthem effects. So there's originally the card called Glorious Anthem, which gives all creatures +1/+1, which is just terminology that's used from past Magic, and I've been playing for a while, so I kind of use it that way. So this is an Anthem effect. And when you call them Lord effects, it's like Master of the Pearl Trident or Lord of Atlantis, where it says target, like all merfolk get +1/+1, and it's on a creature. So typically the Lord is going to be on a creature, and the Anthem is going to be on an enchantment, but you can call them Lord or Anthem effects. But this is definitely the pick that you make here, because you need this in order to, it helps you push through damage by tapping down their creatures, and also it helps you just push through more damage because your creatures just get larger. Alright, we're not going to play anything in this pack, so just drag something to the sideboard. We might play Spontaneous Flight in this deck at this point. We're a little short on playables. I think we might be contesting somebody else for black-white, but it felt open in the beginning, so I don't think we necessarily read the signals wrong in the beginning. Same reason, you kind of want like a big game-ending effect, so Coordinated Charge, you're probably going to want 1 in the deck, which is when you're going to push through a lot of damage at the end of the game, you just want to be able to like cast that after you attack. So we'll likely play 1 of those as well. Unexpected Fangs is okay. It's like a combat trick that you might need to play in this deck. So we're just like a little short on like maybe like 1 or 2 like playables at like, you know, the 23rd, 24th playable card. I'd probably grab another Charge and just throw it in the deck. We might play that instead of the Fangs because it's a cycler. Throw one of these in the sideboard. Same thing. Yeah, we're picking up the last couple cards in the pack. So let's go back and think about like how do you feel about the draft overall and how I broke it down for you. Just like to kind of go through. Do you feel like I kind of broke down like what you had and why you were picking the things that you did, or did you have any questions kind of going through where we're gonna, why we went the direction that we did?
I mean, I think it was good. I think the only really questions that I had were just more so to myself of like me thinking that something would be better in a current situation.
Yeah.
But there's a reason I'm doing this, and obviously I trust your judgment. So
Yeah. So there's always going to be differing opinions on, picks and everything too. So one thing that I kind of like to go over with somebody is just, do you think that your deck would have ended up in a different direction than going black-white here? Or do you think you would have ended up in black-white anyways?
I don't know. I like to be honest, it probably could end up just black.
Okay. Yeah, staying mono black I think would have been tough for sure. But yeah, so let's go ahead and just switch the deck view for now. Oh, I think your mic might be cutting out.
No, there's a train coming. So.
Sorry guys, hold on. We're gonna just mute for a second while we figure out what's going on here. We got a little bit of technical difficulty. It's fine. I'll cut this section of the video out. I can now, but I'm gonna cut this section of the video out, so I'll tell you when we're starting back up. Yeah, but it was crackling in and out. Like it kept crackling like you were going like this. Yeah, I know. That's why I just said like I just muted everything up and I was like, we'll just. So we're gonna start back up.
Okay.
So when it comes to this deck, do you feel like your deck would have ended up in a different spot? Is the real question.
Oh, definitely.
So you think we would have been not necessarily in black-white. So there are some really powerful effects to this deck. So your deck is not stellar, but it's also not bad, is the way that I would get a read on this, is that you have decent commons and uncommons, but the problem is we don't have any of the huge rares. I think our deck would have really struggled if we didn't pick up that Sanctuary Lockdown in the last pack, which is kind of good that we managed to get. I'd say we got a little lucky with that. Okay. We might have been fighting for the same card pool, but now we can talk about making cuts to the deck and trying to get ourselves set up in a way that allows us our best chance at winning. So I would cut the Spontaneous Flight because we don't necessarily need a combat trick like that. So the Spontaneous Flight is the first card that I look at cutting. I would probably cut Unexpected Fangs. You might play one Unlikely Aid, even though I'm not a huge fan of the card. You could consider cutting. No, we'd probably cut Unlikely Aid. We want to play Blitz Leech over it. And then I'd probably cut a land, honestly. We're pretty aggressive. So I'd probably cut a Plains. We try to run something like this, maybe. We've got like some cycling cards that can help find our lands if we happen to be in a need for them. But we don't have any huge mana sinks at the end of the game that we would want to be, playing enough lands. So 16 is typically a pretty safe, like, kind of aggro deck split. We do have late game implications with like Bushmeat Poacher, but nothing that I think is too crazy. I would probably run this deck right here. It's got a decent removal spell curve. We might even just be able to take games by just removing all of our opponent's stuff. Why don't scroll through the sideboard real quick, just in case we do have a card that we're like forgetting about. So yeah, I don't see anything. Like maybe Boneyard Lurker is good enough. How many non-humans do we have? So we have Serrated Scorpion, 2 main Servals. So we have 11 humans, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 non-humans. No, you can't play it. It's too hard. Because and a lot of your non-humans are just like at the top end anyways, like Blitz Leech and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd probably play this. I'd play this 40, and I'd run it in, see how it goes.
Okay.
If we feel like we're running short on like damage to push through, or like we seem like we're trading too much on combat, that's when we want the unlikely aid. So we can always go back and reassess that as we get into the game. But let's go ahead and fire this one off for now. We'll see.
Okay.
And so I'll be kind of sitting here commentating the games with you just to kind of see how you feel about it too. And then if you have any questions or anything, you're always welcome to let me know.
Of course.
This hand's good. We're one land away from being able to just like probably end the game.
From being able to end the game.
Well, this is a really aggressive start. Because once you attack with Valiant Rescuer once and turn it into 2 bodies, then Night Squad Commando turns into 2 more bodies. Because like the 2/3 makes a 1/1. So yeah, sorry. This Perimeter Sergeant, for instance, this is what I would call like a Lord.
Okay. So I'm gonna keep this.
Yeah, you definitely want to keep this. You've got an aggressive start with a removal spell. Looks like our opponent's got a pretty slow deck too.
So bring out the Rescuer?
Yeah. Also, we have a Cycler now too, which is pretty relevant. Because he can also now start turning into more bodies.
So
I would just attack here. You're okay with this trade? Alright, just play Night Squad Commando then. He doesn't want to trade because he wants to get the cards off of Otter. So he probably has a mutate spell. The most common one is Dreamtail Heron. But if he mutates Dreamtail Heron, then we can pacify it next turn.
yeah, to mutate that's like a 4 cost.
Heron costs 4, yeah.
Otherwise,
so Heron's a 5-drop that can mutate for 4. Some mutate cards are more mana to mutate, like Sterix, and some are less.
Right.
So he doesn't have anything to mutate for 2. So this Otter shouldn't get through this turn. I like attacking with everything here. No, oh wait, actually, hold on. Don't attack with that 1/1, sorry. Because, yeah, you're okay with trading for the Polywog Symbiote too. No, you don't need to cycle here. And then just play another Night Squad Commando. So these 2/3s just keep kind of breaking through for now, and we can keep pressure on our opponent. And then we've got Perimeter Sergeants eventually to pump those guys way up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the... Okay, yeah, it doesn't pump the Otter. Alright, so now we have the real question of how do we want to go about controlling our board here, which is, I think you're supposed to attack with 1, 2, 3. This should be relatively free damage, but you want to be able to block the Otter too. And you don't want to block the Otter with Perimeter Sergeant, obviously. So then just play, if you play a Perimeter Sergeant here, and if you draw land, Coordinated Charge might just kill him. because we can stop him from being able to really be able to attack back. Your audio is going crazy again. Yeah. All right. Is audio good?
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah,
Is
it
better?
sounds good now. It sounded like the mic was popping. Yeah, we're set up in a really good spot right now. Our opponent's not really doing a lot. So we can play that. And then I would just swing with everything. And we might not even have to cast the coordinated charge, like he might just willingly have to take all the trades. But if he makes greedy value blocks, then like we can survive with everything here. So like this is what I'm talking about when I say greedy value blocks, because he's gonna try to trade this 1/2 for this. So when we give our creatures +1 here, so the coordinated charge gives +2/+1. We give them, if we pump our guys right now, none of our guys die. So we pump our guys and then we get through 9 damage here. So if our opponent was trying to play around something, he would have wanted to have blocked Kahira on the Perimeter Sergeant, and then the Thieving Otter on the 2/1, and then the Facet Reader on the 2/1. And then the charge wouldn't have just beat him, but yeah, like we just win the game there because of that.
Nice.
Those are really good value attacks right there. Hey guys, thanks for joining us today on our episode of the Draft Doctor. As you can see, our deck managed to go 5-3, which is a pretty decent start, and it's a way to start ranking yourself up. Unfortunately, we lost to a Shark Typhoon in the last game for 10, so it was pretty tough to beat. But overall, I think the deck performed pretty well, and I think overall, Dusty was able to learn some good stuff here, is what he told me. So if you like my content, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and when you subscribe, hit the bell in the upper right hand corner. It'll let you know exactly when my next video comes out. Otherwise, take it easy guys. Have a good one.